chose for my independent novel study was Animal Farm by George Orwell. When I first heard of this novel, I thought it was a children's book because it's not too often that you hear of a maturely written novel with most of the main characters as talking animals. Before I began reading, I did a little bit of research and I learned that this is an allegorical and dystopian novel that reflects events leading up to the Russian Revolution of 1917. The first character we are introduced to is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is an old drunk man who happens to be the owner of Manor Farm, which is the farm that all the animals live on. One night, Old Major, a pig, who is looked up to by all the animals, has a wild dream and orders all of them to meet him in the barn so he can talk to them about it. Old Major dreams of a world where all animals live free from the tyranny of their human masters. The animals were so inspired by his philosophy of animalism that they plot a rebellion against Mr. Jones. Two of the pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, become the two leaders in this dangerous enterprise. Shortly after this, Old Major dies, but the animals begin this rebellion after Mr. Jones forgets to feed them one day. The animals revolt and drive the drunken and irresponsible farmer Mr. Jones from the farm, renaming it Animal Farm, and the 7 commandments of animalism were painted on the barn wall. These are, whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy, whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes, no animal shall sleep in a bed, no animal shall drink alcohol, no animal shall kill any other animal, and all animals are equal. Initially, the rebellion was a success, and the animals began to feel a sense of pride as they worked for no master. The animals completed everything they had to, and they had their meeting every Sunday to debate farm policy. The pigs became the new supervisors because of their intelligence. Napoleon, however, became way too greedy and began to steal milk from the cows and apples to feed himself and the other pigs. Later on, Mr. Jones made a comeback and attempted to regain control of the farm. In my opinion, this was the most foreshadowed event of the whole novel. Knowing Mr. Jones and how irrational he is, I thought it was obvious that he would come back. Thanks to Snowball, the animals defeated Mr. Jones once again, and the battle became known as the Battle of the Cowshed. After this, tension began to build on the farm as Snowball and Napoleon were butting heads with one another on the direction that the farm should take. Snowball thought it would be a great idea to build a windmill to increase food and reduce work, but at the same time, Napoleon just wanted to increase production. Snowball ended up winning over the animals with his windmill idea, but Napoleon summoned a pack of ferocious dogs who chased Snowball off the farm forever. Now that Snowball is gone, Napoleon became the sole leader of the farm. Napoleon ends up telling the animals that the windmill was his idea from the beginning and that Snowball had stolen it from him. From this point in the novel onward, Napoleon continuously uses Snowball as a scapegoat and blames him for absolutely everything. Napoleon began trading with the neighboring farms, although it is against the rules. The animals worked extremely hard to build the windmill. When it was half finished, it got destroyed in a gale, and obviously, Napoleon blamed Snowball, then orders for the windmill to be rebuilt. Napoleon and the pigs moved into Jones' house and began sleeping in beds, which once again is completely against the rules. One of the neighboring farmers, Mr. Frederick, and his men attacked the farm and blew up the second windmill, but then they are eventually defeated. By this point in the story, there is a blatant trend as the pigs continue to disobey the 7 commandments. They don't actually own up to it, they just reword the rules so it doesn't seem as though they broke them in the first place. For example, when Napoleon and the pigs were sleeping in the beds, the rule had been changed from "no animal shall sleep in a bed" to "no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets." And after the pigs became drunk one night, the commandment "no animal shall drink alcohol" became "no animal shall drink alcohol to excess." Without giving away the ending, the last couple chapters of Animal Farm is definitely where all the sadness lies. Personally, I didn't like the ending of Animal Farm because in the novels I've read in the past, there has been a happily ever after or something dramatic happening at the end, but in Animal Farm, it kind of just comes to a complete stop. On the other hand, I really admire Orwell's writing style because it's very simple and matter of fact. He was able to compare what the average person would think of as a minor incident to something political and profound, for example, comparing Animal Farm to the Russian Revolution. Overall, I am definitely not disappointed by Animal Farm, and I would recommend it to almost anyone because it's a quick read, it's funny, and it's interesting because the main characters are animals. But that's also part of the downfall because at the beginning it's kind of hard to understand and relate to, but once you get to know the animals and their personalities, it's pretty easy to follow. I would not recommend this book to anyone who likes a lot of action in their reading because although some major events took place, it moved at a pretty steady pace and nothing was that surprising. All in all, if you are thinking about reading Animal Farm, you will definitely not be disappointed.